We also have with us Mr. Ganesh Shivaswamy, curator of the exhibition. Gitanjali Maini, CEO of the Raja Rai Verma Heritage Foundation, and director of NGMA Bengaluru, Dr. Satyabhama Badrinath. I welcome all the dignitaries on behalf of NGMA, and I request you to please come on the stage and light the lamp, please. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I now request all the dignitaries to kindly take their seats on the stage. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I would please request you to come and give us welcome address to the audience.
At the outset, I would like to welcome Mr. Venkatachalaya, former Chief Justice, Supreme Court of India. And I think there could be no better person to come and inaugurate this exhibition. He's the best person, being as he is, in the right mold, and concerned so much with our culture. And Ravi Verma is also one who established Indian culture to a large extent. So I welcome you, sir, for this inaugurating this exhibition. I welcome Mrs. Rupika Chawla. I better know her as an art conservator. So, and to do so much with art, and also being one of the authors of Ravi Verma's works. I welcome you, madam, for this inauguration. I welcome Mr. Ganesh Shivaswamy, as well as Mrs. Geetanjali Maini, who have taken real efforts to bring this exhibition first to NGMA before they could take it anywhere else. I thank you a lot for bringing it to NGMA and showcasing this exhibition once again. I suppose for everybody to recollect the works of Raja Ravi Verma. Raja Ravi Verma is one who really, made things probably go viral, as we use it, the terminology in today's world, by mass producing Indian gods and goddesses, which could reach each and every home. He ensured that each of us were able to identify a particular goddess with a particular figure. I'm sure if we had to look at some other figure as Lakshmi or Saraswati, we would say, no, this is not Lakshmi or Saraswati, because all of us are so tuned to the figures that have been painted by Raja Ravi Verma. That is his greatness. He not only painted these figures, but he was able to take it home to each and every place and to educate each and every Indian about Indian culture. And I suppose at this stage in our lives, we need some sort of a, what should we say, to get back, to look into it and bring about a renaissance of Indian culture. And in this respect, the works of Raja Ravi Verma is definitely going to make each and every one recollect the works of his. And I really expect a good feedback for this exhibition from the Bangaloreans. Thank you. And once again, I wish all of you all a very enjoyable evening, and thank you for making it to this inaugural session. Thank you.
I would now like to call upon Mr. Ganesh Shivaswamy, the curator of this exhibition, to share a few words about the artist and the artworks. Mr. Shivaswamy, Honorary Secretary to the Raja Ravi Verma Heritage Foundation, is a lawyer by profession who has passionately collected art for over the past 25 years. Sir, please welcome.
A few days ago, I was asked a very interesting question. What is so special about this particular exhibition? It's just lithographs. They are not the original paintings. So what is so special about it? You see, in 1894, when Raja Ravi Verma started the lithographic press, he was already a very richly blessed artist. He had royal and aristocratic commissions coming his way. He need not have catered or pandered to the common man. But he chooses to make art accessible to the common man. And how does he do it? In 1894, you do not have the printing technology which is available today. So forget for a moment that you have your color scanners, your color printers. Color photography is not available. Offset printing is not available. How do you make copies to make it available to the common man? So what he did was you take limestone, lithostones, 16 to 24 of them required to make a single print. You scan and you etch your painting, including every eyelash, every strand of hair, with microscopic accuracy on every one of these 24 stones. You thereafter ink each of these stones with a different color, and you stamp them consecutively, and what do you get? You get one lithograph. But that is not enough for you to democratize art. So what does he do? He takes this whole process, which requires neurosurgical precision, and makes it into a factory process. Through this process, he democratizes art. The democratization of art does not happen through the oil paintings. It happens only through the lithographs. In 1894, if someone came and told you, you see, come and pray to Lakshmi, all your problems will go away. How would you imagine her? Just think about it for a moment. How would you imagine Lakshmi in 1894? The academic or the Brahmin community would probably say, oh, you know, she is in Padmasana, she has 4 hands, she has this, she has that. Difficult to imagine. So if you are not able to imagine it, they will tell you, oh, please go and see one Mysore painting or a Tanjore painting, which is only a representation of her. Otherwise, somebody would sit you down and say, look, the divinity is found in a Sri Chakra. There are triangles, there are circles, there's a bindu inside, it means this, the triangles mean this, the opposite triangles mean this, these circles mean this, those circles mean that. By the time you're running around in circles, how do you imagine the divine? This is one section of society. The other section of society is not allowed to get into a temple. You're not allowed to visualize a Garbhagudi. Manu Pillai tells me the Vaikyam Satyagraha takes place in 1924. Until such time, a person is not allowed to go on a road next to a temple. How do you perceive the divine? All of a sudden, the shop next door is selling a Ravi Varma lithograph of Lakshmi. So a buyer comes up and says, am I prohibited from buying this? No. Do I need anyone's permission to buy it? No. So he buys up his Lakshmis, his Saraswatis, and all of them percolate into the puja rooms. A PhD scholar from USA is doing a research on the history of the puja rooms in India. None of us have done it, so somebody in America is doing it for us. She told me, Ganesh, you know something? Except families where there is ancestral puja, like Saligramam or a Shivalingam, or some murti to which you are doing puja, did you know that the puja room was not in existence at all? Until when? Until the lithographs came, suddenly Lakshmi is there, Saraswati is there. We have to find a place for her in our home. So the cleanest room in the house is the kitchen. So one portion of the kitchen is made into a puja room. The connect with the divine doesn't take place through the oil paintings. The connect with the divine takes place only through the lithographs. My mother is sitting over there. Some time ago, she told me a very interesting story. She says in those days, it seems the mother would tell a very reluctant son, son, please get married. I'll get you married to someone as pretty as a Ravi Varma. You mean to say these hordes of over-enthusiastic mothers and reticent sons had access to some living room of a palace? No. Their ideal and their notion of beauty, Indian sublime feminine beauty, comes to them only from the lithographs. Somebody also asked me recently, how is it relevant today? I simply said, do one thing, go back to your puja room. Imagine your puja room with no pictures on the wall. Because the pictures on the wall today came in from that time. What are you going to put a flower to? What are you going to tie a garland for? What are you going to fold your hands and look up to? What are you going to pray to? What are you going to cry to? Nothing. That connect to the divine is not done through the oil paintings. It is done only through the lithographs. But what have we done? The lithographs have done so much for us. What, on the other hand, have we done to the lithographs? We've burnt them. We've trashed them. We've yanked them out of the frame and sold the frames to a kabaddi wala. Today, there's nothing left. The Raja Ravi Varma Heritage Foundation, in this exhibition, puts on display lithographs, original lithographs, from the Ravi Varma press, which can be attributed directly to Ravi Varma painting. So it's a Ravi Varma painting made into a lithograph from a Ravi Varma press. There's an estimate that there are 134 of such lithographs. On display today is 131. The largest you will ever see. Our foundation believes in the motto of knowledge, appreciation, preservation. All of our events, we have never done with just pretty pictures on the wall. There is an academic content to it. So every picture which you will see in the exhibition will have a title card with a curatorial note. So for those of you who want to know more, read the note. For those of you all who want to know even more, there are references, Valmiki Ramayana, Canto so-and-so, so you can actually read up and understand what is going on in the exhibition. 131 is a very large number. So what we have done, we split up the exhibition. So as you enter the exhibition, you're going to have divinities in the main corridor. You'll have Ramayan, Mahabharat, and Krishna on the right. You'll have the rishis, Maharajas. You'll have the mythologies and plays. And of course, who can forget the damsels on the left. We also have a specific room where we have all the progress prints. So come take a look at how difficult it was to make all of these. Now I come back to the first question which was asked. Is this an exhibition of just lithographs? My answer is no. It is an exhibition of not just lithographs. This is an exhibition of the very objects which have defined our notion of beauty, of religion, of spirituality in the aesthetics. It's an academic exhibition which has taken me personally 1/4 of a century to put together for you. So please do come and enjoy the exhibition. Thank you.
There was a very insightful light upon the exhibition. I'm sure the audience would sort of take a lot from that. I would now request our chief guest for the evening, Shri M.N. Venkatachalaya, former Chief Justice, Supreme Court of India, to kindly share a few words with us.
Ms. Rupika Chawla, Sri Ganesh Shivaswamy, Ms. Gitanjali Maini, Mr. Shivaswamy, esteemed friend Mr. Sudarshan Maini, Justice Arvind Kumar, Justice Manohar, His Excellency Dominic McAllister, Deputy High Commissioner of UK, very respected and distinguished invitees. I think you have invited a shipwright to perform a church rite. What is art really? I think once Picasso said, art is the lie which reveals the truth. For many, the usual cynical question that is asked, what does art mean to millions of our people? It is elitist. It's for the leisurely and the lazy, and those who are in the upper crust of society. I think an author who wrote about culture and anarchy, he said, there's something which is true about this statement. Art, architecture, perception of beauty, all these are matters which are for the comfortable in those comfortable in life, not for the elitist preference. There is an old story of the beginning of the American independence in the Hall of Freedom in Philadelphia. Benjamin Franklin, who had worked for ceaseless months, tireless work for the Confederacy, for the Constitutional Convention. He sat alone. Delegates were not coming in. He was waiting for them. There is a painting on the wall. He imagined the difficulty of an artist to paint a rising sun, distinguish between a rising sun and a setting sun. And the painting looked to him a little bleak in the morning when people were not coming at all to sign the convention. Then, thereafter, people came in, all of them signed the Constitutional Convention. And then he looked at the painting again, he said, it is the painting of the rising sun, not the setting sun. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today I read that book with great fascination. I don't know um, uh, India ever deserves such beautiful contribution of the lady sitting next to me, Rupika Chawla, who wrote about a passionate tribute to Raja Ravi Verma, who simply idolized mythology. And as Ganesh so beautifully put it, our whole conception of gods and goddesses is shaped on the image that Ravi Verma presented to us. You think of, I remember a number of these photographs, and I recall now, my grandfather was a judge. He had a collection of these Lakshmi, Saraswati, Damayanti, and all that kind of thing of Ravi Verma's painting. I told, after I reading Mas Chawla's book, I asked my son to search for the old attics and find out what happened to those things. When I saw the paintings, it's such a passionate research work. I think that book calls for a great celebration itself. I was not aware that such intensive research is possible in India at all. She went from one corner of the country to the other. He went to Pune, he went to Thiruvananthapuram, she went to Tiruchirappalli, she went to Tanjore, and met so many people. And it's a fascinating book. I think we all owe a deep debt of gratitude to Mas Rupika Chawla for the kind of research that she has undertaken to bring out that book. Then, I would have asked all of you to give her a standing ovation for the beautiful books that she has done. Ladies and gentlemen, this effort by Ganesh and Gitanjali, I think they have grown two blades of grass where one grew in the world of art and architecture. They deserve the better of mankind. The fascination that you actually, when you think of Raja Ravi Verma, according to the records, he lived only 58 years. The kind of production of the celebration of Indian mythology that you find, really, when I was thinking, whenever we think of a Saraswati or Lakshmi or Damayanti or any other mythological picture, we go back to the stereotype of Ravi Verma. There's no other way in which you can imagine it, because, as he put it, if the ordinary man, who perhaps for a long time did not have access to this kind of elitist worship forms, could think of any Lakshmi for that matter, he would only go to the artistic contribution of Raja Ravi Verma. I think this foundation has done an extraordinary work. The work that they have done to bring out this collection, I'm told there are 131 out of the 134 lithographs. See the technique that he mentioned, the limestone blocks being etched and colored, and the fascination of that kind of production is we are unable to admire, say, almost a century and 20 years later, how that was possible, who imagined it. And that again brings us to the great gifts of modern science. We have ceased to wonder at the kind of gifts modern science has given us. Modern science has conquered time. You send an email to your son in America, you get a reply yesterday. We have, of course, the sanity check will update the date, but today is yesterday in America. And more than that, there's some writing which I saw in the recent magazines, the Time magazine. They put up the photograph of a child in the cover some 3 weeks ago and said a child born in this year of grace can expect to live 142 years minimum. Some writer in America says, with our present state of knowledge of human physiology, you can add 1 year to your lifespan every year. Just simply imagine the arithmetical implications of this statement that you can add 1 year to your lifespan every year. And he says that if you somehow manage to live up to the end of this century, which he says is possible, you will live forever. And this is the kind of world in which we live. And to counterbalance the intensity of the disturbance that this kind of thought gives us, it is resort to the art, architecture, music, literature that is the refining forces of our life. You have to counterbalance the intensity of the impact of the modern technology by a refuge in the world of art, architecture, elevating those who contribute to the they constitute the real savor of life. I must thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity of participating in it. I read this book of Ms. Rupika Chawla in the last 10 days. It was something which is an eye-opener. That such research is possible at all in India is a very, very comforting feeling. I am most grateful to you for your patience and courtesy. I expect to be with you to enjoy fully the fruits of the labor of this Heritage Foundation, which has made this exhibition possible. Thank you very much for your patience.
Sir, for your words. I now request Gitanjali Maini, CEO of the Raja Ravi Verma Heritage Foundation, to share a few words as well. Gitanjali is a gallerist and the proprietor of the Bangalore-based art gallery, Gallery G. Gitanjali, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've written it down, unlike our chief guest, so I don't forget anybody. Before we go into the heritage block to view the exhibition, there are thanks in order. So on behalf of the Raja Ravi Verma Heritage Foundation and NGMA, I'd first like to thank artist Ravi Verma, who left such a large legacy and body of work for us that we could celebrate it even 100 years later. I want to thank all the family and descendants of Ravi Verma who are here today to support us and encourage us for all the activities that we've chalked out that the foundation will do. I want to thank especially our wonderful chief guest, Sri Venkatachalaya, for not just consenting to be chief guest, but also encouraging us the 2 times that we have gone to visit him. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Rupika Chawla, our guest of honor, and also the resource for tomorrow morning as our first research, outreach program. Thank you for coming from Delhi and making time for us. We really appreciate it. Also thanks to Manu in the audience. He's a dear friend of the foundation and for curating tomorrow's program, which is at 11 o'clock right in this hall. And we look forward to seeing you. Manu, you'll stand up for us? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thanks in order to Mr. Subbaraman. Thank you, sir. When we had a dilemma on how we choose the 131 pieces, Mr. Subbaraman came from Mysore and he chose it for us and he authenticated it for us, and that's how we are in NGMA today. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to Ganesh Shivaswamy, the Honorary Secretary of the Foundation and also the Curator of Royal Lithography and Legacy. He's put together this comprehensive display. He's not cut any corners in his writing, and there are detailed title cards along with the paintings, so please have a look at it, and thank you, Ganesh, for doing that. To NGMA for being such a welcoming and an encouraging host. As a galleryist, we never get this much of experience as we got this time. We've learned so much of meticulous planning, and they've assisted us and pushed us in every step. And I'd especially like to thank, of course, Director Darshan and Mr. Narayan and all at NGMA who, too many names to take, for all the help and the learnings. To Gallery G and Print Brew team and my family here today for helping the show get wings. And last but not the least, I want to thank everybody here, all the dignitaries in the audience. There are so many artist friends, family who are here. Thank you for coming by and making this occasion special. Thank you. I'll invite you now to come to the Heritage Block where we'll open the exhibition.
I just have a few announcements to make. We have a series of outreach events planned. I'll just probably repeat what Gitanjali has said. Tomorrow we have a talk by Sri Rupika Chawla, author of Raja Rai Verma, painter of colonial India, and Sri Manu Pillai, here at the auditorium at 11 a.m. So please try to be for that. On 16th July, that is a Saturday, at 11 a.m. we have a curator's walk by Mr. Ganesh Shivaswamy. We also have a series of documentary film screenings on the artist Raja Rai Verma on following Sundays, the details of which are available on our website and Facebook page. So please check that and please try to come for that. Apart from that, on 10th July, that is coming Sunday, in collaboration with Dakha Visa, we have an artist presentation by Dr. Andani VG, a Bangalore-based artist, at 5 p.m. in the auditorium. So now, without further delay, we'll now have the opening of the exhibition at the venue. I request you all to kindly proceed towards the gallery and please join us for the high tea after the viewing of the exhibition. Thank you so much again for coming and have a nice evening. Thank you.